Hi everyone, I hope you're well. This recording is just to speak to some important points from Learning Unit 4 and 5 that you should be working on at the moment if you are following the PACER. Just a couple of important things that I just want to draw your attention to that are going to help you for your part and your POE. The first thing that I just want to speak to is style and tone. Now, when you are working in any business environment, you always have to make sure that what you are writing is appropriate for the people that are going to be receiving that content, and also making sure the tone is correct. So are you writing things that are more formal, in a more business-like manner, or are you needing to approach things more casually so that people feel like they are communicating with a friend? You have to know what the intended audience is going to be thinking when receiving this message, and making sure that your tone is appropriate for the audience that you are trying to reach. So, for example, if you are working for a company that is working on a campaign which needs to go out to, say, 18 to 35-year-olds, you'll probably find the tone of the message would be more conversational, more relaxed, where if you're dealing with, say, an older generation, you probably would find that the tone would be a bit more formal. There's also a difference in tone between how you speak to colleagues versus, say, a manager or CEO. So it's just important to make sure that your tone and style of writing is appropriate. So when you think about your assessment, so your POE and your part, you'll be speaking to an audience that would consume Pringles. So you need to start thinking about what kind of style or approach you want to take to writing your content, as well as the tone that should be used. Now, keep in mind, this is, you are not, well, let me rephrase. You are not writing only for an external audience. Your part will be dealing with the internal audience, being that of the Pringles employees. Then it shifts on to looking at the retail outlets that would sell the product. And then finally, in the end of your POE, you're going to be dealing with producing content that would be fit for going out to an audience to promote the new product. So you need to think about how that tone and style will be adapted in these different environments, because the tone that you would take for employees would be different, or colleagues would be different to that of retailers, which would be more formal, factual, presenting information without all the pomp and circumstance, as it were. And then for your audience, they're the people you're trying to get riled up and excited about the product. So, you need to think about the type of people that would be purchasing Pringles. All right. So that is the one important thing from Learning Unit 4 that I'd like you to focus on. Now jumping to Learning Unit 5. Just if you give me a second, I just need to pull up my screen. All right. I'm just going to be pulling up the textbook just so you can see. Now this is from Learning Unit 5's work. So the other thing that's important learning Unit 4, it's just a repetition on Learning Unit 3, where we looked at those 3 stages of writing: the planning, the writing, and the revising. So what's important in this particular instance, what I want you to be aware of is this page from chapter 6, so page 201. And this is very important because in your part and your POE, you will be writing from the planning, the writing, and the revising. And in both your part and your POE, you are deliberately going to be producing a document for me which has mistakes in it. So I need mistakes being evident so I can see your editing process. So you can see here how they have crossed out things, underlined things, made comments on everything. The important aspect here is that you need to be able to show the markings, show what needs to change. You guys you can either do it like this on your page, or you can use it doing track changes when in October, when I go through the part with you guys, I'll show you the different options. But this is what your your non-edited version should look like. So even though it goes against every fiber of your being, you have to deliberately produce a document which is not fit for print, that could not go out to people of any form. And then what you will do is put all the markings in place so I can see all the changes, and then you submit a edited version. So what aspects you tell me that should be edited in the first draft, I should see those changes then in the final draft. So that's something that's super important. They show here common proofreading symbols. You don't have to use those proofreading symbols. You know, if you choose to use them, obviously I'm aware of them and know them from the textbook. But if you are just wanting to underline or use track changes or comments or what have you, that's also acceptable, as long as I can clearly see the errors that you have picked up. And then, like they show here, you will have a final edited version, and that is what I will look at, and that's what will be the remainder of your marks. So you'll be using this formatting in both the part as well as your POE. Then when you're going through the rest of this learning unit, it gives you pointers in terms of the writing and improving for readability. So please just take care when reading the section. These questions are quite important because, for example, what is the purpose of this document? Who's the target audience? Write your piece, read through these questions, and check that you can answer all these questions, and then move forward. Because if you can answer all the questions, then it means you've created something that is appropriate. And then what's important is readability. So make sure that I'm not left with any questions, that the 5 W's and H, who, what, when, where, how, and why, are all answered, so that I'm not wondering, you know, when is this taking place? Why is this taking place? I should be able to see all that from the content within your different documents that you'll be creating for me. The other thing it does speak to is varying your length of sentences. Please think about that. That pace, it also influences your tone. So make sure you think about that, as well as making sure you do not have long paragraphs that are difficult to read. Remember, this has got to be easy to read, and it's got to be catchy and snappy for the different audiences that you're writing for. Okay. If you need to, you can use lists and bullets in this instance. Normally in academics, we say stay away from bullets, but in this instance, it is acceptable. Okay. And also use headings and subheadings if it is appropriate. So if you are needing to give details about when a launch will happen or what needs to happen within the stores to ensure that the product is released correctly, use those headings and subheadings to break down the stages that need to occur. Then the other thing that this speaks to is editing for clarity and conciseness, which is also important. So just this whole chapter is just focusing on what you need to think about in terms of editing and making sure you are producing content that is effective and makes me want to know more, read on, and so on. Okay, so please, when you're working through this learning unit, please make sure that you are thinking about what you're needing to produce. Think about how it's going to be applicable for your part and your POE, and then you'll be good to go. All right, guys, have a great evening, day, whenever you are listening to this, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.